From the opening kickoff in Chicago
100th season begins
to fireworks in Baltimore.
There he goes!
And a wild finish in Seattle.
Wow, what a crazy finish.
Waiting all day for Sunday night.
Thank you, America, for making Sunday Night Football the #1 show in primetime television, on pace for a record 9 straight years. And it wouldn't have happened without our partners.
Sunday's officially not for laundry.
Thank you for counting us down to kickoff. Simplifying the game.
Here's 3 plays that stand out to me.
And offering fans a unique perspective.
This is the place to be.
I've been waiting all day for Sunday night.
Welcome to the Toyota Halftime.
Waiting all day for Sunday night.
High noon on a beautiful Saturday in San Francisco. And about 40 miles south, Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara is the place to be, where 70,000 are gathering to welcome postseason football back to the Bay Area. For the first time in 7 years, the 49ers are hosting a playoff game. It's the very first time in this stadium. And for these fans, generations of fans, they've grown up reading all about or experiencing the likes of Bill Walsh, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. More recent generations saw Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick take the Niners back to the Super Bowl. Now it's a new era with a new home and a chance to add to this franchise's 5 Super Bowl titles. They hope the new face of the franchise, Jimmy Garoppolo, can handle the pressure of his first playoff start. His 40-year-old head coach Kyle Shanahan has called plays in the Super Bowl. Now he makes his postseason head coaching debut. The quarterback he used to coach, Kirk Cousins, answered the big questions last week. Now he hopes to help Mike Zimmer to Minnesota's second NFC Championship game in 3 years. 2 teams, 2 wins from Super Bowl 54, set to kick off the best weekend of the football season. The divisional playoffs start here on NBC.
This is what it's all about.
We got 110.
And on the goal line, he is short.
Wow.
The #1 seed.
Beautiful throw. Touchdown! You like that?
This is Football Night in America, presented by Progressive.
Partly cloudy, 54 degrees, just perfect in Santa Clara. The NFC starts this divisional weekend. If the Niners win, they host the winner of tomorrow's Seattle-Green Bay game on Fox. That winner will be at home for the championship game if the Vikings pull the upset here today. Over in the AFC tonight, Lamar Jackson and the top-seeded Baltimore Ravens welcome 6th seed Tennessee on CBS. They'll also have tomorrow's game at Arrowhead, where Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs welcome the Houston Texans. In about 30 hours, we'll have the Final 4 in the running for Super Bowl 54. So glad to be in the parking lot outside of Levi's Stadium and with you to start this divisional weekend. Mike Tirico, Hall of Famer Tony Dungy, Super Bowl champ Rodney Harrison. San Francisco fans have been loud and they've been proud. 13-3 off the bye. Minnesota won at New Orleans in overtime last week. Rodney, which quarterback has more pressure coming in here today?
Well, that's easy, Mike. Jimmy Garoppolo. This is his first playoff game. They're the #1 seed. Kirk Cousins went to New Orleans last week, took care of business, got that weight off his shoulders. Now he can play relaxed, he can play loose, and he can just have fun out there.
Rodney, I was at the Vikings practice on Wednesday, and I think you're absolutely right. That group was loose.
Yeah.
They had energy. That win in New Orleans really gave them a lot of confidence. And their game plan today on defense is to put the pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, stop the run, and make him try to beat them.
Yeah, so some folks on the field before the game, you can sense Minnesota's very comfortable despite the noise and the scene. Our whole Football Night in America team is here. We've got you covered all around the stadium. Let's check in with Liam McHugh, who's at the spectacular 49ers Museum over in the stadium. Liam.
Yeah, Mike, slightly different scene in here. This may be a team that's light on experience, but this is a franchise that is heavy on history on display. From those 5 Lombardi trophies to the statues in here in the museum of the legends that have suited up for this team. And you think back to those first 3 championships for the 49ers, they came courtesy of the collaboration of these 2 men, Joe Montana and Bill Walsh. But today, Well, it's all about Jimmy Garoppolo and all about Kyle Shanahan and how that combination will fare. For more of the 49ers, let's go to Chris Sims, who's outside their locker room.
Thanks, Liam. I talked to Kyle Shanahan yesterday. We had a great conversation. First thing I asked him was, how is Jimmy Garoppolo going to respond in his first playoff game? He said he's not even the least bit concerned about Jimmy G's nerves. He said, quite simply, he's just not fazed by this type of stuff. Then I went to Kyle and I said, well, what about you? This is your first playoff game as a head coach. He goes, yeah, doesn't feel any different than the Week 17 showdown against the Seattle Seahawks. Doesn't feel any different than when he was the OC of the Atlanta Falcons, except he's in charge. His team is ready to play. They're anxious to get out there. Now to Mike Florio over outside the Minnesota Vikings locker room.
Thank you, Chris. And it was a freak accident at practice 3 days ago for Vikings receiver Adam Thielen. A teammate's cleat went through his shoe, through his sock, and through 2 layers of skin, I'm told. 4 stitches to heal that wound. The Achilles tendon not affected, but the injury in the actual heel itself. He will play. There's a question as to how effective he'll be. I'm told he's not 100%, but they're going to wrap it up. They're going to numb it up, and they're going to hope for the best. And they need it because he had a huge game last week against the Saints. For more on this one, here's Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Mike, thanks. I was at Vikings practice as well this week and saw how the sound system in their indoor practice facility prepares the offense for a hostile environment. So rather than piping in noise through speakers on the sidelines, as most teams do, their sound system surrounds the entire interior, and it fills the building with audio recordings from actual game day noise produced during games at US Bank Stadium. And Kirk Cousins has to be able to determine play calls which aren't sent into his helmet until the noise is at its peak during practice. Now, meanwhile, unlike the Vikings, the 49ers had a bye week. That's something Kyle Shanahan told us is a double-edged sword. You need it and want it, but you have to keep the team fully engaged throughout. Now, players got rest and injuries healed, but Shanahan had to keep the players focused even when they weren't practicing. He gave them New Year's Day off, but kept them around late enough on New Year's Eve so no one would be tempted to mix in a trip to Vegas, Mike Tirico.
No, everybody stay right here in the Bay Area, an area you know so well, Michelle, an area, as you can see and hear, very hungry for this. Postseason football, got 90 minutes to get you ready for it. Fans are ready, so are we. We are just getting started here in Santa Clara on Divisional Playoff Saturday.
Find out what makes 49ers tight end George Kittle so dynamic from those who know him best.
I don't think he fears anything. I think you just got to know you're going to be able to do that.
Kirk Cousins tells Tony Dungy how he conquered the critics.
Who I am is an emotional guy, an intense guy. I love to play with passion.
Plus, all you need to know as this star-studded divisional weekend gets set to kick off. This special edition of Football Night in America is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. By Verizon, the network more people rely on. By Progressive Insurance, save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. And by Lowe's, official home improvement sponsor of the NFL.
We're the better team, I know we are. So let's go get it.
Bonjour overtime.
It's amazing how in this league every game seems to come down to the last 2 minutes or beyond.
Cousins with some late pressure floating it over the middle, looking for Thielen. Cousins, Thielen, yes, Kirk.
You got to take your shots when you're trying to win a playoff game.
Looks right, fade left, end zone, it is caught!
It feels good to be doubted and be able to come up with a win.
Bonjour, San Francisco. Au revoir, Saints.
I got 3 words for you. You like that?
Yeah! Tony visits with Kirk about his first ever playoff win later in the show. Kirk Cousins did say, when you climb a mountain, you sit there, look around, you only realize there are more mountains to climb. The man who caught the winning touchdown from Cousins, Kyle Rudolph, spoke with Liam earlier.
I'm sure after making that game-winning catch last week, your phone was blowing up. Most interesting message you received?
That's tough. There were a lot of them. I just remember sitting in my locker after the game and being so excited for our guys, for our team. The focus that we had last week going into that game was something like I'd never seen before. But most importantly, we know what it's like to win a game on the last second and have the letdown the following week. And we had a great week of preparation this week leading into today's game.
What have you done this week to avoid a letdown following a big emotional win?
Well, I think, part of it is a lot of guys on this team were in that locker room in Philly 2 years ago, and we know it doesn't matter if you win a game on a miracle play with no time left on the clock, if you win a play on the last play in overtime. If you don't come out and get the job done the next week, it doesn't matter. And last week was just the first step in our journey through this playoffs.
49ers have the stingiest pass defense in the NFL. How do you break through?
Well, you got to block their rushers first. They got a phenomenal front, 5 first-rounders, put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and then, a secondary that's led by a veteran who's played in this league for a long time, played in a lot of big playoff games. So it's not easy.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you bet, Liam. Thank you.
All right, let's check in with Florio and Sims.
And it was Kyle Rudolph who had the game-winning short touchdown reception on Sunday, but it's the long ball that the Vikings will need if they want to get past this round, Chris.
No doubt about that. They like to run the ball with Dalvin Cook, and that forces teams to play man-to-man on the outside to stop the run. And then Adam Thielen, right, Mike? His ability to work the ball down the field. We've seen Kirk Cousins really do a great job all year long with the deep passes.
Yeah, that's right. And whether it's Adam Thielen last week or Stephon Diggs, we saw him during the regular season, getting past corners. And the corners today may be susceptible to having Diggs or Thielen run right by them.
No question. That's just something to look out for. Kirk Cousins is going to have to hit those shots when the opportunity presents itself. The 49ers are going to be looking for that run game and trying to stop Dalvin Cook.
And the run game's the key. If the run game starts to work for the Vikings, that's when you have to watch the play action and maybe those balls over the top down the field. For more, here's Mike Tirico.
All right, guys, thank you. The pass game may be slowed because of this. The pass rush. The 49ers had it all year. 5th in the NFL with 48 sacks. Eric Armstead career season. Nick Bosa, Defensive Rookie of the Year's type season. DeForest Buckner, 7th pick overall in the 2016 draft. But Tony, it's great to have all this talent. This wasn't an accident. This was a part of the plan in building this team.
Yes, Kyle Rudolph mentioned those 5 first-round draft choices. John Lynch, the general manager, played for me in Tampa. He played behind a group that was loaded up front, and that was his plan. They were loaded, and he added Nick Bosa this year as his first pick.
Oh, Nick Bosa, they have a lot of great players, but Nick Bosa is their best defensive lineman. And if you don't block him, he can absolutely ruin the game. His big challenge for Bosa is he's got to set the edge in the running game like Florio and Sims talked about and not allow that ball to get outside, Coach.
But it's not just the outside rushers. Inside, they've got the Oregon twins, Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. I watched these guys come in with my son Eric as 18-year-old kids, and they've grown into monsters. Yeah. They're going to play inside, disrupt it against the run and the pass today.
Scenario for San Francisco, get a lead, turn those guys loose, and they'll have a great second half. You talk about Nick Bosa. I mentioned a caliber Defensive Rookie of the Year type season. Think about the Bosa brothers and how good they were. Joey from the Chargers here to support his brother Nick. Joey had 11.5 sacks. Nick had 9. It's a family affair. Nick's still playing. We'll see if he's playing after this afternoon.
Introducing the stars of the AFC Wildcard. Who wants to be a champion? From the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry.
First and goal for the one. They get to Henry, the upback, who scores the touchdown.
We want more. We want more.
And Houston's own Deshaun Watson.
Watson throws it to Jones. What a play! The magician does it again.
You got what it takes, all right? You are one of 8 teams left.
Now, show them what they've won. The chance to play the AFC #1 seed.
Jackson backs up, slings it in the back of the end zone. He's got Miles Boykin. Jackson throws complete. They won't catch him. Touchdown. It's in. Touchdown, Lamar Jackson.
And the reigning MVP, Patrick Mahomes.
And another to the list. Unreal. Mahomes scrambling as Mahomes fires a strike.
Let's play Who Wants to Be a Champion?
Well, Well, the Bay Area doesn't have the AFC anymore. The Raiders are gone from Oakland. They are bound to Las Vegas, but the AFC playoffs continue. Cloudy and warm for January. That's the forecast tonight in Baltimore. Tennessee tries to pull another Saturday night surprise after winning in Foxborough last week. It is snowing like crazy this morning in Kansas City. Could be in the 30s and sunny tomorrow when the Chiefs host Houston. I want to go back to the Baltimore game and Lamar Jackson. So Tennessee just stopped Tom Brady. Now Tennessee has to try to stop Lamar Jackson. You've talked to defensive players. What does it take to try to slow down the likely MVP?
Well, they all told me the same thing. They said that he's very, very fast, and he's actually a lot faster in person than he is on film. But they also talked about all the misdirection plays. They said it's tough because you don't know where the ball is at, and it slows down the defense. Defensive back Logan Ryan told me, in order for them to win this game, man, that's loud. In order for them to win this game, they're going to have to keep him in the pocket and not give up the big play. Good luck with that.
It's amazing in these AFC playoffs. We're so used to Brady and Manning and Rivers, and now we're seeing these young guns, 4 young quarterbacks that are doing the job.
And we'll see Watson and Mahomes in the game in Kansas City. What do you think the key is at Arrowhead?
I really think for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's Chris Jones, their defensive tackle. In the first game in October, he didn't play, and Houston just dominated on the ground. They ran the ball 40 times. They kept Patrick Mahomes off the field. Chris Jones is questionable. They really need him to play and stop that run, put the ball in Deshaun Watson's hands.
Do you see an upset? Do you think it'll be Baltimore, Kansas City in the championship game?
Yeah, I actually think Kansas City might blow him out.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I like the home teams, too. I think we're going to see Baltimore, Kansas City in the championship.
All right, Baltimore tonight, Kansas City tomorrow. The 4 remaining starting quarterbacks in the AFC, we were talking about a combined 6 career playoff starts. Today, Jimmy Garoppolo makes his first. San Francisco's new face of the franchise. We'll take a look at his career timeline to get him here. 2 Super Bowl rings backing up Brady in New England. San Francisco got him that second-round pick to trade in 2017. He went 5-0 as a starter that season. Hopes were high, but he tore his ACL week 3 last year. The Niners finished 4-12. But he came back better than ever, 13-3 this season, helping the Niners earn the number 1 seed. Man who brought him to San Francisco, General Manager John Lynch, with Liam a short time ago.
John, how would you describe the mindset of Jimmy Garoppolo as he prepares for this game?
Confident, and I think Jimmy should be confident because he's earned that. Since he's been here, he's had that quality that the great ones do, that they make everybody around him better. I think the other great quality, in the biggest moment, he shines, and it's an awesome deal. He's a great teammate. The guys love him, and I think that's because he's just all about winning. Whether we're running the football and winning that way or throwing the football, winning that way, Jimmy's he's that guy, and he's been a winner for us. So we're very confident in him, but I would call him very confident, very calm as we head into his first playoff start.
You've been part of a championship team. What makes you most confident that this team is a championship caliber team?
Well, a couple of things. I think, first of all, the talent and how this team was built. We've got the quarterback. We talked about him. We've got the guys to knock down quarterbacks, and I think that's a hallmark in this league. That's a quality that the championship teams have. But I think you go further, there's a closeness on this team. There's a unity that's very reminiscent to the Super Bowl 37 team I played on in Tampa. It's hard to explain it, but you can feel it, and there's a closeness. Everybody has each other's back, and I think that goes a long way.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Liam.
We're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, he's a smart man walking into the building with the guys who are going to protect him all day long. And these guys already understand playoff intensity. Take you back to last spring. They're about 20 minutes down the road in San Jose for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Ahead of Game 7 against the Avs in the second round, the 49ers O-line opened up the Shark Tank and then took the time to engage in some good, clean team bonding. Last season, the NHL All-Star Game was in San Jose. This season, it is in St. Louis. All-Star Weekend, 2 weeks away on NBCSN and NBC. Plenty more to come in Santa Clara.
This is Football Night in America, presented by Progressive.
Here's the play to the Dermot Division.
What we preach every day is you give it all to the clock is zeros.
And it's 4th down and goal.
The game was on the line, 4th down. I knew they had one more play to get in the end zone.
Shotgun snap to Wilson. Throws over the middle. Caught by Hollister. He is tackled short of the goal line. He is tackled short of the goal line.
what was going on in my head was just not letting my teammates down, not letting my coaches down, just giving it all I got and making sure he don't cross the goal line.
What a crazy finish.
It just boils down to we just got a group of guys that's going to fight to the end.
Well, that tackle added to rookie Dre Greenlaw's incredible story. His mother lost custody of him when he was 8, lived in different group homes and shelters across Arkansas for the next 6 years. Then, by chance, he met Brian Early, who's a high school coach. He's now a D-line coach at the University of Houston. Early thought he'd serve as a mentor for Greenlaw. Incredible story of this young man who is now a key part of this defense, and his play, guys, was part of an incredible run. The last 5 games for the 49ers have been decided in the last half minute. They have learned how to win heartstoppers, and Tony, you think that can help a team in situations like this in the postseason?
I really do. I know fans get frustrated when their team isn't blowing people out, but you're going to play close games in the playoffs, so getting used to it is big. My 2005 team in Indy, I thought was the best team we had. But we won 13 straight games with no close games, and then we weren't ready for the playoffs. The next year, we had all these nail-biters, but it got us to the Super Bowl.
But also, when you play in close games, it also reveals the character of the team. I was so disappointed in Stephon Diggs last week. He was upset because he wasn't getting the ball, came to the sideline, threw his helmet. Same thing with Xavier Rhodes each and every week. I don't care what's going on, Mike, in critical moments, you got to keep your composure.
Yeah, we'll see if they can do that. Hey, did you work out this morning?
No.
Did you work out this morning?
5:30.
Well, I did, and we just did. We just ran to get here. Meantime,
we got it.
Like
right
they're
now.
on a bye week. Florio and Sims are in there eating bonbons with their feet up, relaxed inside the stadium. We've come closer to you guys for On the Field presented by Progressive. Let's talk about some of the key players in this game as they start to get warmed up here. And Rodney, I want to start with a guy for the Niners who carries playoff experience. He won Super Bowl 50 on this field with the Broncos. We speak of Emmanuel Sanders, the wide receiver.
Yeah, we tend to forget about him, Mike. We always talk about George Kittle or Deebo Samuel. This is a big play guy. He's been there before. He makes big plays, and he brings a lot of energy and passion.
And to go along with Emmanuel, Deebo Samuel has been fantastic. A young guy with a lot of energy, a running back's body in a wide receiver position. He makes a lot of big plays with run after the catch.
Bad guy.
Well, the guy to look for in the Minnesota Vikings offense today is Dalvin Cook. That's how the offense goes. He's one of the best running backs in football. Hits the hole about as hard as anybody in the game. Last week, a lot of great runs on the edge of the Saints defense. I think this week, you'll see the 49ers a little susceptible to the inside run game. I think you're going to see him a lot in between the tackles. As he goes, does this Minnesota Vikings offense go.
And one guy, Chris, sneaking up to try to tackle Dalvin Cook. 49ers strong safety Jaquiski Tardy suffered a rib injury December 1. He hasn't played since. He's active today, and I'm told he is full go, no limitations, and he'll try to shut things down in that Minnesota running game.
Maybe get back, Mike, to how good they were the first half of the season. Tart, one of those players with no playoff experience. But these fans have playoff experience. Think of the generations of terrific Niner teams. So many stars, including Bryant Young, finalist for the Hall of Fame. He's standing by with Liam.
Mike, thanks so much. Yeah, congratulations. Finalist for the Hall of Fame. You're a guy who experienced home playoff football in the Bay Area. This is the first home playoff game for the Niners in 7 years. What do you remember? What's most vivid about home playoff games in the Bay Area?
The most vivid to me was just the energy the fans brought. You know, they came out and it was like, okay, this is it. You know, new environment, new sense of spirit about them. And so they just brought it. You could hear them, they're loud. And it affected us as a team, as players. You know, we understand what it's about. But to have those fans behind us and that energy is coming in the stadium, it was a great feeling.
You're the franchise's all-time leader in sacks. What do you love about this defense?
You know, this defense, to me, how it's been pieced together. Young group, some older guys in there. I like how they've grown over the years. I like how they understand situational football, and when the play needs to be made, some young guys have really stepped up and made some really big plays. So it's just good to see this group, how they come together over the course of this year.
Brian, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sounds like a man who's rather confident about this group of 49ers, Mike.
Great to see B.Y., one of the dominant players in his era. Find out if he's in the Hall of Fame in 3 weeks. Final Sunday night 7 contest of the season, meaning last chance for $100,000 in guaranteed cash prizes. You see some of the winners. We get to $2 million given away after today. Tony, help the folks out with one question. More passing yards today, Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Wow, well, we talked about Jimmy G and all of his weapons that he has, but I really think Kirk Cousins is going to have the most passing yards today. I talked to him in practice Wednesday. He said this 49ers secondary doesn't give you many shots. When he gets them, he's got to hit home runs. They can't be foul balls. I think he's going to hit some home runs today.
All right, there's your help. Download the NBC Sports Predictor app to play, or we send Rodney after you if you don't do it.
That's right, Mike.
Hey, George Kittle, you're going to send a lot of good safeties after him. You're not going to stop him. 5th-round draft pick in 2017. Now many consider him the best tight end in the game.
George Kittle is a beast.
George Kittle muscled his way in. What a run by George Kittle.
The energy he brings, the competitiveness. He's an animal out there. He's a monster.
George Kittle went crazy on the play.
George Kittle's an absolute nut.
Goofy with a little bit of chaos.
Viking fans, this field familiar? Let's go back to 87. Similar field, the playoff path. Anthony Carter touchdown from Allen Rice in New Orleans, puts them up 24-7. They win in New Orleans 44-10. Where did they go? Out to the Bay Area. It was Candlestick then. Joe Montana struggled. First half pick 6 put the Vikings up big. Montana was pulled for Steve Young, and the Vikings made it to the NFC Championship game in Washington. Remember that game? They had a chance. Down 7 late. Darren Nelson couldn't quite come up with the grab. Washington held on, and the Redskins eventually won Super Bowl 22. Mike Zimmer, the head coach of these Vikings, hoping that the path will take him maybe to the state of Washington if Seattle wins, or for a third in the trilogy, it would be if Green Bay wins tomorrow. The other side of the NFC equation, snow showers, low 20s the forecast at Lambeau tomorrow night, where Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers both try to stay alive for a second Super Bowl title.
It's on my mind every day. I mean, that's why we play the game. That's why you put in the time in the offseason. That's why you do the little things. It's to put yourself in this position where we're 2 games away from being able to compete for that. So, I mean, I'm 36. I know what this is all about. This is an important opportunity for us. I feel like I got a lot of really good years left, but you never know. A lot of things happen year to year. You know, we've had some great teams that, you know, have been an injury away or, you know, play away from being special. So I want to make the most of this opportunity.
Now is the time. Time now to simplify the game. Powered by Microsoft Surface. All that real playoff experience at the quarterback position, it's not here. It's in Lambeau in the cold tomorrow evening. So, Tony, Aaron is always a key, but you're looking at a different Aaron for the Packers tomorrow.
I really am. In their Super Bowl run, it was all Aaron Rodgers throwing bombs, but now his running back, Aaron Jones, is the focal point of this offense. And it's a big benefit to the quarterback when he can just hand the ball off and get big plays. He doesn't have to do it all by himself, and Aaron Jones has made big play after big play all year, Rodney.
Absolutely, Coach. He's their best player. The entire offense is centered around here, and I actually think he's a better wide receiver, and he's more dangerous when he's catching a pass. But, Mike, I never thought I would say this. Force Aaron Rodgers to beat you and stop Aaron Jones.
You sure about that?
Have you seen him this year?
Yeah, I have. I like Aaron Rodgers' chances in the postseason. We'll see who's right on that. So Matt LaFleur, their coach, he's the one first-year head coach to make it to the playoffs this year. We're going to have a group of first-year coaches next year. 5 coaching changes: Rivera, McCarthy, Rule, Judge, all introduced this week. Cleveland, the only opening remaining. More on this to Liam McHugh and Mike Florio inside the stadium.
Mike, thanks so much. So, Browns clearly weighing their options. This game interesting because they've already interviewed Robert Saleh, the 49ers defensive coordinator, and Kevin Stefanski, the Vikings offensive coordinator. Start there. Where do they stand?
Well, they are in the same group with the rest of the candidates. The Hayes in the barn. They've interviewed all the candidates they're going to consider, including most recently Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. And my understanding is they're going to be making a hire from one of the individuals they've already spoken to. They've been more thorough than in the past, but there won't be a second round of interviews. It's going to be one of these guys.
Spoke to Kyle Rudolph earlier. He told me Kevin Stefanski would be a home run hire at head coach. You know about the offensive genius. You know about the high IQ. He says he's a guy who can stand in front of a team. He can be a face of a franchise. Browns already interviewed 7 different men. What's the timetable?
Well, I'm told they can make a hire as soon as tomorrow, and that the outcome of today's game will not be a significant factor. And that's important because whoever wins, if it's Stefanski's team, the Vikings, or Saleh's team, the 49ers, that guy's not available to be hired until his season ends. And that guy may be left behind because I get the feeling the Browns are ready to get this job filled and move forward with building their team.
And Mike, regardless of who they hire for the Browns, it'll be their 7th different head coach since 2010. Mike?
All right, guys. Ron Rivera qualifies as a minority under the Rooney Rule. The other coaches who were hired do not. All the teams interviewed minority candidates. Tony, this has become a topic of conversation again as the number of African-American and or minority candidates seems to be shrinking in terms of the serious chances. Revisit the Rooney Rule that every team has to fulfill when they interview a coach. Where are we on that and the origins of that rule?
Well, it really is not working like Dan Rooney envisioned it. Dan put this, helped get this rule started, and his idea was that an owner would have a system, what he wanted in place. He would have an idea of the type of coach he'd want, and then he'd research that. That's what he did with Mike Tomlin. Dan always wanted young defensive coaches. He didn't know Mike Tomlin, but he investigated it and blew him away in the interview. That is not happening now. I think people are using the interview to check the box, not really going after what really fits their situation.
This is near and dear to your heart. You're the first African-American head coach to win a Super Bowl. What's the solution to this problem right now?
I think we have to get the owners more information. They've got to understand that there's a universe of people out there that they may not know about. And it's not necessarily racism. It's just being ignorant of who's out there, who could help them, and I think that's where it's got to go. Some way the league office has to get more information on who these great young coaches are.
No doubt this will be a topic as the league does its meetings with owners and the leadership of the NFL coming up this spring. We're going to head inside the stadium as we get closer to kickoff of the divisional playoff round. We're down to 8. Nothing like being in the Bay Area. The weather is perfect, and we're set for the 49ers and the Vikings in the playoffs.
Simplify the game. Powered by Microsoft Surface, the official sideline technology provider of the NFL.
Hey, tonight's winner. Who you got?
Rod's changed since we partnered with Lowe's, huh?
Dude, you know what he did the other day? He comes into my office like, going to Lowe's, need supplies? I'm like, something that gets me organized. He says, I got you. Next day, I come into my office, it's like Shelf Town. I'm like, this is amazing. He's like, bro, DIY's my dojo.
It's a classic, Rod.
He built me shelves for everything.
Elbow shelf.
Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's and vote for tonight's winner at NBCSports.com.
Can you feel Candlestick?
We are witnessing pandemonium in San Francisco. Smith to throw, sets, throws, end zone, caught, touchdown! Vernon Davis with the play of his life.
Young stepping up, down the middle, throws, it's there! Touchdown San Francisco! Unbelievable! Shades of Dwight Clark.
Rolls right, and he throws into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! Touchdown, San Francisco!
It's a madhouse at Candlestick.
What a place, Old Candlestick Park. There's the spot, Candlestick Point. Some 30 miles from here, the Niners moved to Santa Clara in 2014, and 3 years later, they turned the keys to the franchise at Levi Stadium to Kyle Shanahan. It's a last name that all football fans recognize. Yesterday, I sat down with Kyle's parents, Mike and Peggy, to talk a little bit about the family business.
Mom and Dad, what is this like to kind of live through it again, but in a very different way with your son?
When Mike was going through this, we just were kind of growing up and just went with the flow, and it was just kind of fun. Or when it's your son, it's not quite that easy.
And Dad, can you detach from Super Bowl champion coach and just be Dad?
Well, it's hard, but you know what an opportunity it is for him. And at the same time, you don't get those chances very often. And I think Kyle feels the same way.
The 49ers win the Super Bowl title.
Take me back to 1994 when you were the offensive coordinator here. Did you see in Kyle then that this is a kid whose love of football is going to take him pretty deep in this profession?
Kyle was a very good arguer when he was little, and so we always thought maybe he'd be a lawyer or something. I think that year really just settled it.
Well, I thought, like, he was a 7th grade, 8th grade freshman year, and he went to camp each year with me as a ball boy. And I know he thoroughly enjoyed being around the players, and he got along with the players very well.
Did I read right that when the 49ers were making the run in 94 and Kyle was one of the ball boys, that he would go to school almost every day in a Deion Sanders jersey?
Yeah.
The same one?
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to wash it was like, oh my gosh, such a big deal.
Guys like Deion, they would go to dinner, and they would take the ball boys with him. So he got a chance to get to know all these guys on a personal basis, and he's around them now as well. So it was a great experience for him.
And they are the #1 seed in the NFC.
And that feels great, baby!
It's really hard to have that last name and go into the family business because there are extra expectations. How has he been able to handle it so well?
I don't know. I think he's just got the attitude and always has that he knows what he's doing, and it's not because of the name.
He's got a lot of confidence because he's worked at the game so hard, and he understands the aspects of the game, not only from a personnel standpoint. You got to know offense, you got to know defense. You have to know the game inside out.
Hold on, guys. Awesome team win, man. Awesome job across the board, all right? Special teams, Richie, the kickoff for our return.
Good and bad, as parents, there's always that moment where you see some of you in your kids. What do you see of Kyle when you look at him?
You know, he is very competitive. He's very, what I call, real. There's no BS, and players know it very quickly. Players can see through anything, and so they like people that, at least in my opinion, that are going to shoot them straight and be honest with them.
What do you see?
Mike's had me listen to some of their meetings before when he's talking to the team, and I'm like, wow, did you talk to the team like that? Because he's got a lot of heart, and you just pick up that how much it means to him. And Mike said, I did, but his is better.
Yeah.
And Mom and Dad are here. There are Mike and Peggy. Mike called the plays for the 49ers, their last Super Bowl win, which was in Miami. Will they be back in Miami watching their son try to do the same thing in a few weeks? Chris Sims, you know Mike, Peggy, and you know Kyle very well. You guys were teammates back at the University of Texas. You the quarterback, he the wide receiver. You've known him for 20 years. What kind of person is he?
Well, he's a great person. He's got incredible energy. We hit it off right from the get-go at 19 years old. We just talked football. I was picking his brain about his dad, the great Denver Broncos coach, John Elway. And from there, he's just such a loyal friend. He's a great communicator with the team. He's very real, as his dad said in that segment. And I just never doubted that he would be that he wouldn't be in this moment. I knew this was coming. I knew he was made to be a head coach.
And you guys bonded. You were in the same bubble. Everybody knew you because of your last names. You had to prove it on your own, and you both have. Now let's turn to the XO guy. We hear offensive genius, great mastermind. Give me an anecdote about how he's drawn up plays in the middle of the night.
Well, he lives it. He's a psycho, and I got one for you just like that. The middle of the night. His wife, Mandy, she always gives me the good story about Kyle, okay? And she tells me, you know, he was stressed out. They had just drafted Robert Griffin III, the second pick of the draft. Wow, this interesting skill set, and it was keeping him up at night. He didn't know what to do. So one night he just got out of bed in the middle of the night, grabbed some paper towels, started drawing up all these crazy plays. Of course, had great success. It was almost a lot like the Lamar Jackson offense we see now, but years ahead of schedule. And Kyle is an amazing game planner.
Well, that's how his game plan for today. It's time now for Game Flow presented by Progressive. What should we watch for with this offense today, Chris?
So much misdirection, so much creativity before and after the snap. It starts with the run game, but he will abuse you in the play action pass game. Yes, you think it's a zone run to the right. Well, no. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to keep it. It creates a huge hole on the backside for Deebo Samuel. They love play action pass. Then the misdirection in the run game. You think the run's going to the right? Nope. Whoops. If you over pursue and play your hand as a defense, Kyle Shanahan always has a few ways to keep you honest, whether it's reverses, misdirections, whatever it is. So creative. Here, a bootleg to the right. You think, okay, but everybody does this. Kyle invented this play, and everybody does it in football. bootleg to the right. Oh, not so fast. There's a guy coming out the back door wide open, and I think Mike Tirico could have even made that pass for a touchdown.
Maybe not.
Maybe
that
not.
was Game Flow presented by Progressive. Only appropriate at 12:49 Pacific time, we ask. Is it Kyle Shanahan's time as a play caller? We'll find out here in the next little bit.
We will. Yeah,
Great
I'm excited.
Yeah. Or we'll take you on the field, talk about some of the key players. Places thumping, places filling up. So glad you're with us here in Santa Clara on this divisional playoff Saturday.
This is Football Night in America, presented by Progressive.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
I'm 92 and a half years old and still counting.
It's all over. And another superb afternoon.
The Vikings, we've been to 4 Super Bowls. We never have won a Super Bowl. Maybe this is our year.
For this town, they'll never forget this day.
Winning a Super Bowl is like being a champion for life.
We got 1 chance.
The Vikings are peaking at the right time.
Right.
And we've got a good pass rush. We've got a running game.
He's into the end zone for the touchdown.
All the ingredients are there.
Fade left, end zone, and it is caught. Touchdown.
When I see the guys on the 49ers play with the passion, the courage, and the tenacity,
He is short.
Wow.
it leads you to understanding what it's like to be a champion. Champions matter. You're dang right it's rarefied air.
I'd like for the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before I leave this world.
How could you not be fired up? Their 6th playoff meeting, but it's a 49ers first playoff game here in Santa Clara as they try to crank up the chaos and create a true home field advantage. 49ers fans, well, they know there is strength and there is clearly noise in numbers. And thanks to standing-only sections like this one, the 49ers expect the largest home crowd in team history. And soon, all these beautiful eyes will be fixed on a quarterback making his very first playoff start. Let's go on the field, presented by Progressive. Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah, he has 2 Super Bowl rings, but both of those came as Tom Brady's backup. Chris, today is a long time coming for Jimmy G. How do you expect him to react?
I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be fazed by this or anything. I talked to Kyle Shanahan yesterday. He just simply said he just doesn't get nervous in these type of situations. He played in a similar atmosphere in Week 17 against the Seattle Seahawks. I think Kyle Shanahan will set him up for success early, and he'll get off to a good start and play well.
2 defenders that are trying to give Jimmy Garoppolo problems today are Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin. Normally edge rushers, speed off the outside. They surprised New Orleans by putting them inside over the guards. I think you're going to see that again today, trying to get pressure inside on Garoppolo.
And also trying to stop a running game that is varied and multiple and is led by this man, Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, they have 3 really good running backs, but I think he's the best. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry, and because of he's so fast and so explosive, I think they need to get him the ball more, but they actually do the defense a favor when they take him off the field because he's so explosive.
Well, one of the guys that will be trying to stop Mostert in this running game is Eric Kendricks, one of the best middle linebackers in football. Sideline to sideline, got tremendous speed, great in pass coverage. With Shanahan and all his run plays and play action passes today, Kendricks will have his hands full trying to digest this offense.
Another guy who will be very key to that run defense will be Harrison Smith. They use him as a blitzer against the run game, a tackler at the line of scrimmage, but he's still got to defend George Kittle in the passing game.
Rodney, let's talk about the opposite side for Minnesota. What a receiving core. Stephon Diggs, frustrated at times, but he's a big factor in this game today.
He is, Mike, and Adam Thielen, he's going to see a lot of coverage, and it's going to be a lot of opportunities. You got to get him involved early in the game. You can't wait to the 3rd quarter for him to have his first pass.
The opposite number had the big catch to set up the touchdown in overtime, Adam Thielen.
And he was injured in practice on Wednesday. He looks like he's ready to go today. And I was told by Kirk Cousins that they aren't going to have a lot of opportunities. They've got to make them count. Adam Thielen, look for him on 1 or 2 big shots today.
Rodney Richard Sherman, defensive second-team All-Pro. Longer in the tooth than he once was, but still a huge factor when he's on the field.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, he's smart, he's experienced, he's that calming influence in the secondary if things go wrong. And the most impressive thing about him, Mike, is his ability to tackle in the open field. He's been fantastic this year.
Nick Bosa, the best pass rusher on the San Francisco 49ers, a rookie. He's been phenomenal. It'll be a big game for him today, not only to pursue the run and Dalvin Cook, but to watch out for those bootlegs and stay patient on the backside when Kirk Cousins does keep the ball. Such a big part of that Vikings offense. Nick Bosa will have to be patient and disciplined.
You just said watch out. I want you to watch out. We got the defensive players warming up here in the end zone. Anything you've noticed since you've been down here on the field?
I'm amazed. I've been out here for an hour. The 49ers are so loose, guys. I mean, they're dancing. The coaches, they feel good. You can feel the energy. They are not enamored with the big lights or the big moment.
Chris, I just talked to George Kittle. I said, what is your biggest concern with the Vikings defense? He says, none. I trust in Shanahan.
Yeah. Well, for me, I wanted to see how Adam Thielen was going to be. He looks like he's running okay. That's huge for the Minnesota offense because he's involved in a lot of things for them.
And you're a coach. You check the flags. There is a breeze, but it's not super impactful for the game and for the kicking game. And Kyle Shanahan was right over there with his whole family. You say he's got a lot of friends here, giving his wife and their kids a little kiss before he went out to start the warm-up with the team. Things we're seeing here on the field as we get closer to the 49ers against Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Tony went to Minneapolis to visit with the guy who's finally won the big game. Now all he's got to do is do it again.
Fade left, end zone, and touchdown!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
You like that?
I love all the reactions caught in the locker room and out. This was the send-off at MSP, Minnesota's International Airport, yesterday. The ground crew doing the skull chant. They're getting the skull chant here as well for the fans who've made the trip to San Francisco Bay Area. Now it's Kirk Cousins' turn. For as long as he's been a starter, his critics have pointed to the inability to win the big game. Minnesota felt differently. They signed him to that 3-year, $84 million deal, and he's won the big game. This week, Tony went to chat with the Vikings quarterback, fresh off overcoming the crowd in the dome.
Well, first of all, how's your voice after about 60 plays in that crazy noise?
Well, my voice was cracking a lot during the game. On the TV, people don't quite understand how loud it really was.
I want to go back to overtime. A big situation, you cross the 50 and coach calls it a shot play. That's really why you came here, right?
Amen.
First and 10 from the Saints 45. Play action for Kirk from under center, straight drop.
Coming out of the fake, just try to take a snapshot of where Adam is, where the DBs are, and based on that, picture, it was time to launch.
Kirk trying to win it to Thielen, caught at the 5. What a beautiful throw.
But now you get to third down. You know a touchdown's going to win it.
Here we go. One receiver left, 3 right. Cousins shotgun, Dalvin Cook to his left.
We knew the possibility of them bringing an all-out blitz, and they brought it.
Kirk takes the snap, looks right.
I knew the ball had to go up to Kyle, and the key with Rudy's size is just put the ball up. Make sure you can go up and get it.
Fade left, end zone, and touchdown!
How quiet was it when Kyle caught that ball?
Yeah, the noise was crazy, and then it threw us off because you knew silence meant we did something right, but it still didn't feel right to be celebrating in a quiet stadium that had been loud for the last 3 hours.
I went through it in my career when I had Peyton Manning, and he didn't win his first playoff game until year 5. It does wear on you, but how did you handle that?
Certainly it's nice when you can climb that mountain earlier in your career than later, but for some of us it took a little longer, and I think to get that first playoff win was another achievement, a great feeling to say, okay, we did that, but there's now more mountains to climb. And it's about getting multiple playoff wins and ultimately about winning a Super Bowl, which you and Peyton do have, and I'm still trying to chase. So, that's what it's all about. It's going to be an exciting adventure.
And the Minnesota Vikings have shocked the New Orleans Saints. But I got 3 words for you. You like that?
Now, you always give the image of the under-control guy. You think it's good for people to know that you've kind of got that kind of edge at times?
Oh yeah. I think sometimes you can be misrepresented because, you want to play the position of quarterback as a CEO and just as a stone cold killer. And you don't want to ride this emotional roller coaster. I think if I do that, I can start to make poor decisions with the football. But really who I am is an emotional guy, an intense guy.
You like that? You like that?
And usually after a big win, the intensity and the passion is what's going to come out.
You like that?
Well, if you win this week, are we going to hear it? You like that, or we got something else for them?
I'd like to keep it organic. When the moment arrives, we'll see. But there's a pretty good chance it'll be those 3 words.
I love it.
Thanks, Coach.
I got 3 words for you. You like that?
I love that scene last week in New Orleans. And we didn't think, guys, we were going to see that in October. Remember all the angst with Thielen and not getting the ball to Diggs? It's a different offense the way it's matured as the season's gone on, Tony.
It really is, and Kirk told me they all had to get used to it, especially the receivers, because it wasn't now going to be 40 passes and throwing the ball all over the field. This offense revolves around Dalvin Cook. Gary Kubiak has put in a run offense that relies on the stretch running game. And this is what they do. They block it up. Everybody has an area. Dalvin gets to sit back and read it and then make one cut. Where is that opening? Find the cut, get there, and get downhill. And then when they do that, other things come off it. But this offense, Chris, revolves around Dalvin Cook now.
It definitely does. It's a Dalvin Cook first, and then let's go to the next gen stats powered by AWS. It's the bootleg game off of it, right, guys? We see so much Kirk Cousins, fake to the right, roll out to the left. Most coordinators, head coaches don't like their right-handed quarterback to roll to the left and throw that way. But Cousins is amazing at it. He has a maximum quarterback rating when it comes to that, and I think that'll be a big point of emphasis today again in the game. We know it's one of their staples.
But guys, it puts so much pressure on San Francisco middle linebacker Fred Warner because he has the difficult job of trying to sort out all those play actions, all those bootlegs, and then he has to tackle Dalvin Cook in open field.
Yeah, right.
Second-year man from BYU is their top tackler. He's going to have to play a similar type role here today. When we come back, we're going to look at one of the keys to Kyle Shanahan's offense. He's got a tight end who can make it go. That tight end is George Kittle. Kittle's emergence has perhaps given San Francisco the definition they needed on offense. He's utilized in so many ways. He's also very unique. You'll meet him when we come back to Santa Clara.
Here's the play to the German division.
12 seconds, 4th and goal. We hold them, we win.
It's 4th down and goal. Shotgun snap to Wilson. Throws over the middle, caught by Hollister. He is tackled short of the goal line.
He's short. He's short. Nothing.
Hollister's hit on the goal line. He's run by Greg Greenlaw. The 49ers are going to win the NFC West.
Let's go. Right? San Francisco, baby!
Niner fans get to party like it's the 80s and the early 90s here in 2020. That was the playoff win. Finally, back for a home playoff game, and there's Joe Cool. Joe Montana, 79-92, the quarterback, 4 Super Bowl titles in those games, 11 touchdowns, no picks. Royalty is here. There's current stars, George Kittle. 3 years ago, 5th-round pick out of Iowa, now first-team All-Pro tight end. A big playmaker with an even bigger personality. What makes him so special? We find out from George and the people who know him best.
Stand by.
You tell me when.
2, 1.
I got you. Thank you. I just enjoy that.
Stone Cold Kittle
Turns, dives for the pylon.
George Kittle muscled his way in.
Oh, I love football.
He really is having fun, and he reminds me of the little kid when he was 5th and 6th grade. He was just a very happy boy. He loved playing with his sister when he was young. Emma was just all legs and fast. She dominated George.
It was great because it was my little brother, and to compete with your sibling was so much fun.
Probably like up until 5th grade, she probably whooped up on me. She was way more athletic than me when I was a kid. It's not fair.
He's very competitive. I think that kind of helped him. You know, appreciate you're going to play people that are bigger and faster sometimes.
I think all that competition, always roughhousing and knocking each other around, had a lot to do with his comfort level, getting into the mix and knowing you have to scrap for it if you want it.
Those lessons learned in the family backyard were transferred to the field, with Bruce coaching his son through various levels of football.
I started tackle football, I think, in 5th grade. Yeah, 5th and 6th grade, he was my coach. 7th and 8th grade, we went undefeated. That was pretty fun for him. He really wasn't real long at that time because he was kind of skinny, but he was really twitchy and just had a really natural feel for avoiding people.
It's just fun that I got my feet underneath me now, and I know what needs to be done.
I did everything with like a football mindset. So if I was the postman in basketball, you're going to get some elbows to the face a couple times. That was kind of my game plan. We've always tried to really stress, you don't want to be a tight end that just bumps guys. You want to be a guy that dominates people. I mean, that's been our goal ever since he's played football.
George Kittle down the sideline, stiff arms a man, still pushing it out, flag.
He's had it ingrained in his mind forever. I mean, I don't think he fears anything.
Football has always bonded the Kittle family. And for the past 5 years, Bruce has found a unique way to stay connected to his son. Weekly letters he still sends him to this day.
My dad was definitely my best friend my entire life growing up. You know, when I got to college, the communication, it dies down a little bit. The letters were kind of just a way for him to talk to me. I've kept them all. It kind of means the world to me. The Niners have a bit of history of their own. Your legacy runs deep and rich. What I've always tried to do with the letters is try to match where he's at within his career, what's going on. When you go out onto Levi Stadium and you get on that turf, you need to see and to feel them. The ghost of that era and those times and those teams are there for you. Welcome them when you walk out. Honor them with gratitude in the way you play. A lot of it is, me reminding him that he's really not that big of a deal. Don't forget the weight room. Don't forget to watch film. The foundation that got him to where he's at. You're never alone. You have your teammates and your coaches of this team. For we are the new 49ers, and we got your ass. Kind of makes you feel like you can go play, right? Makes you feel like you can win no matter what. Helps me every single week.
And now you know why he is who he is. And the Kittle family ready and here to watch George make his playoff debut. Rodney, you were a great safety. Some of us think a Hall of Fame safety. You covered Hall of Fame tight ends during your career. How would you compare those guys to that guy?
Well, think about it. Jason Witten, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, the list goes on. He has everything that those guys have, but the difference is, Coach, he's a lot faster and he's definitely meaner than all those guys.
Well, he definitely is a great run blocker. And let's take a look at some tape on some of the things that makes George Kittle so important to this Kyle Shanahan offense. First off, he can run routes like a slot wide receiver.
Yes.
And then when he does that, yes, he can beat a corner, but he's hard to tackle. He's like a Gronk or a big physical tight end.
That's what I love about him right
he
there,
never
Chris.
goes down,
Yeah.
right? He never does. And then you go, okay, let's see what he is in the run game. What? You better not put a safety or somebody like that over him. As you will see, he will drive you into the ground. He is a showman. He loves it. Here he is blocking against Baltimore. Oh, big deal. But has the wherewithal. Hey, I'm just going to throw the towel up in the air and
Kick
have
your
fun
butt
out
and
here.
smile about it.
Yeah, right. I mean, my kind of guy.
Yeah. And what you saw there, the blocking, to me, that's what separates him. All the guys Rodney talked about, he can catch the ball like them, but the matchup problem, if you put a coverage guy on him, he'll blow them right off the line of scrimmage.
All I'm saying is this. I look at Coach Zimmer, and if I were Coach Zimmer, I would have probably put Xavier Rhodes, cornerback, on him. He's big, he's physical, he struggles covering wide receivers, but I think this might be a decent matchup covering the tight end.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested because Shanahan's going to have some plays to get him off early on and get him started. What is Zimmer going to do? Zimmer doubled Michael Thomas a few times on third downs last week. How does he attack it? I think that's one of the keys to the game.
Well, they bring in Mike Florio for some intel on what San Francisco's thinking defensively in the secondary today, Mike.
Well, and the Vikings have had major injury issues in the secondary. Last week, it was a real challenge against the Saints. They passed. This week, I'm told the Vikings are more comfortable with 3 linebackers on the field more frequently. The challenge is going to be get to the ball, make the tackle, limit the yards after the catch to keep the big play from happening. And also watch for more Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter, defensive ends, rushing from the inside this week against Jimmy Garoppolo, guys.
We always talk about halftime adjustments, in-game adjustments to what you have come out with. Fans are listening to Joe Montana. They're cheering. They're ready. So are the Viking fans who've traveled. The game picks when we come back to Santa Clara.
This season, Sunday Night 7 has been handing out money. Lots of it. $100,000 every contest. $2 million over the whole season. Look at those happy winners. The best part? It's free, and there's still time to get in on it. Just download the NBC Sports Predictor app, answer 7 questions before kickoff, and you could be next.
This is what it's all about.
We got 110.
And on the goal line, he is short.
Wow.
The number 1 seed.
Beautiful throw. Touchdown! You like that?
Yeah! Minnesota Vikings trying to go on the road twice to New Orleans, the 3 seed, and to the number 1 seed, the 49ers, win on the road and get to the NFC title game. San Francisco, they've only had 4 home playoff games in the last 20 years. That's why this crowd is so amped and so excited for what is about 6 minutes and 18 seconds away as we get closer to Al, Chris, and Michelle and the call of this divisional playoff game. All right, gentlemen, what is the most important thing you are looking for as we get going here in a few minutes?
I would say which quarterback can handle the pressure. I look at Jimmy G. This is his first playoff game. They're the number 1 seed. I think he has all the pressure on him. Kirk Cousins, he went down to New Orleans. He took care of business, got that weight off of him, and they won, and now he's here. No pressure. He could just play loose and free, Coach.
Mike, for me, it's the defensive lines. We talked about Mike Shanahan and his influence on both teams. Both of these offenses are really the same. They run the ball and take shots off the running game. Which defensive line can penetrate, create havoc, and make the other quarterback beat them?
Chris Sims mentioned on the field live, he talked about how loose the 49ers were, Mike. But when I look at them, it almost seems like they're too loose, almost too confident. I played in 4 Super Bowls, and we were never this loose. I'm going to pick them to win, Mike, but I'm just a little hesitant.
I want to come back to you on something. We were talking last week as we were watching the Vikings game. Inexperience in the playoffs. Only 14 of these 49ers have played a postseason game. Is it important that the veterans go to the young guys and make sure that they get off to a comfortable start in this one?
Yeah, and I think the main thing is communication, just talking to your guys, making sure that they're comfortable, with all the calls, all the checks, and all the adjustments. After that, just let them go and let them play.
But you talked about them being loose. John Lynch, my old strong safety from Tampa, came up to me and talked to me. He's the GM. He said, we are ready. These guys are confident. They're ready. He's got the feeling that they're kind of like our old Bucks teams, that they've got that just sense of, hey, we know what we're doing. We're going to be fine.
And I had an opportunity to talk to John Lynch, and he said his biggest concern was those explosive plays by his offense. Will they be able to get those explosive plays? Because he thinks that Zimmer's going to drop back in a cover 2. He said the main thing they have to do is just stay patient on offense.
All right, that sets it up. Let's take a look at today's winners. Brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with Liam McHugh, who's got the Voice of America and his pick for a very comfortable spot.
Yeah, Mike, we'll start with America's pick. America's 65% on the 49ers. We are in the best seats in the house. You two need to relax. Kick your feet up.
Mine wouldn't go up. I'm sorry.
You know why I'm comfortable? Because I'm going with America on this one. And we're going to a place we have not been in a long time, and that's 500. I'm taking the 49ers.
I'm with Liam. I'm going the 49ers, too. I think Shanahan's going to have a great game plan. This defense is healthy. I expect them to win this game 31-21, San Francisco.
All right, it was 32 years ago. I got a Christmas present from my mom. 32 years ago, lightning struck for the Vikings against the 49ers. 32, here it is, baby. They need the old LSU sleeves on today. The Vikings win 27-24 in overtime.
Very cool, Mike. Thanks, guys.
Go with the start, Mike.
Lowe's was a part of this all year. We want to say a thank you to them because they are donating $50,000 to the charity of the choice of whoever wins this. That's down to the 2 of us, so we'll get Rodney's pick. I'm going to go with San Francisco in this game and hope that the V Foundation for Cancer Research is $50,000 richer after this.
Yeah, Mike, I think I agree with you. You're a lot smarter than Coach Dungy when it comes to these picks. But I'm just still concerned about the overconfidence with the Niners. I'm going to stick with the Niners, but that's something to pay attention to.
Well, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to rekindle that 87 spirit. They went to New Orleans in 87, won, came out here against that great Joe Montana team. No one gave them a chance. And I think the Vikings are going to do it today for A. Brown Ministries in Tampa.
That is your charity, and if you win, then we split that, and each of the charities will get $25,000. There are the Vikings backstage and ready to go. They've held the Super Bowl in this stadium. They've held the college football playoff championship game in this stadium. Now, Robbie Gould and the 49ers get to play in a playoff game for the first time in this stadium. Al Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya, ready to bring it to you. We'll see you at halftime. It's the best football weekend of the year, divisional playoff weekend. Hope you enjoy it here on NBC.
This has been Football Night in America, presented by Progressive.